Today we are going through the power of the tier sets announced by Blizzard, starting with the healers. Now, they are already live and testable in the PTR. They are not nearly as testable considering Mythic Plus is not available and the raid is not available, but by the end of this next week, the raid testing will be available, so you will actually get to test it even more clearly than what we have gotten right now in the PTR, where you can't really be doing much with the tier sets. So it will be interesting to check the power of the tier sets. What are they empowering for both of the hero talents, and also the compare them to the current state of the healers, both in the raid and also their power in Mythic Plus as well. So we're starting with Druid, of course, Resto Druid. So Resto Druid plays the two-way hero talent. They play Keeper of the Grove in the raid exclusively and a bit more Wild Stalker in Mythic Plus. So this power is for the raid because Keeper of the Grove is played in the raid, and it is very fitting to be played in the raid. Whenever you Tree of Life or Convoke, so right now in the raid is Convoke, whenever you Convoke, you call a Dryad which will cast Trank at 50% effectiveness. So you get a 50% powerful Trank whenever you Convoke. And then it will instantly regrow to your lowest health ally at 200% effectiveness. This is irrelevant, you don't care about this. You only care about the free 50% power Trank on your 2-piece. 4-piece, when your Dryad fades, your next 2 Swiftmans will heal an additional amount equal to 5% of all of the healing done during this 5-second window of the Dryad, while it was active, and splash 25% of their healing onto nearby allies. Now, this is very good because this is how Resto Druid works. It works in 1-minute windows. Let's take a guess where those bumps are from. They are from Convoke and from Flourish. 1-minute windows. So having a tier set which empowers the moment you cast Convoke, 5 seconds you get a free half Trank, and then after Convoke is over, your next 2 Swiftmans will do more, basically a lay on hands on one player and then splash that in AoE, is good because they're just going to be reinforcing the healing in these windows, which is what you want to do as a Resto Druid in the raid. This is garbage. Wild Stalker, this power is very poor. The rate at which symbiotic blooms grow is increased by 40%. And then casting Regrowth with clear casting will make them grow even more. And then your symbiotic blooms have a 20% chance to trigger bursting growth every 2 seconds. And each stack of symbiotic bloom on an ally increases bursting growth healing taken by 30%. The problem with all of this is that right now your symbiotic blooms and your bursting growth is extremely poor, even in Mythic Plus, which is where it is most used. So we're talking about 5 to 6% of your healing done. So reading numbers like 30% more healing taken from bursting growth. Great, but bursting growth is doing 1.5% of my healing. So buffing it by 30% is disappointing for Wild Stalker. For Resto Druid, definitely the more powerful one and the more exciting one for your next season is your Keeper of the Grove power in the raid. Evoker is in a similar situation to Resto Druid in the sense that they do play the double hero talents. Mythic Plus is Chrono Warden and raid is Flame Shaper. So for Mythic Plus, Chrono Warden, after Temporal Burst fades, for the unawares, Temporal Burst is the buff you gain after you tip the scales. You tip the scales and for 30 seconds you gain 30% faster haste, movement speed and cooldown recovery rate, going down 1% per second, starting from 30%. So after this fades, you gain Temporal Cycle for 45 seconds. Temporal Cycle will increase your same things, haste, movement speed and cooldown recovery rate by 2%, stacking up an additional time each time you use an Essence ability. So in Mythic Plus it will most likely be Echo, so stacking up to 30%. So basically it's the reverse of your Temporal Burst. Temporal Burst will start at 30% and decrease down to 0. This one will start at 0 and or rather start at 2% and increase all the way up to 30%. Also, when Temporal Burst or Temporal Cycle is active, Chrono Flames strikes one additional target and repeats 10% additional damage or healing up to a maximum based on spell power. This is very good because this will be active almost always, because your Tip the Scales has a 2-minute cooldown, and then this will last for 30 seconds. And when this 30 seconds is over, this will last for 45 seconds. These two together will already last for 75 seconds. So if you can reduce the cooldown of Tip the Scales with all of this cooldown recovery rate buff, if you can reduce it by roughly 30 seconds, 30 to 40 seconds, you can almost have these two active basically at all times to make your Chrono Flames this powerful practically at all times. So it is a pretty good effect for a Chrono Warden, which is most likely still be targeted to be used in Mythic Plus, because in the raid you're going to be playing Flame Shaper. So Flame Shaper engulf strokes your inner flame, increasing your damage and healing over time by 40% and increasing your chance to gain Essence Burst by 50% for 10 seconds. Now, healing over time is pretty terrible because you are an Evoker. Your healing over time is just Dream Breath. Everything else is not doing healing over time. So buffing your healing over time is not that relevant. What is more relevant is your chance to gain Essence Burst by 50% for 10 seconds, and it stacks up twice. Because you are going to be casting Engulf twice, back to back, very, very often, right? You know, if you look at the cast here, and you look at the Evoker cast, your Engulf are going to be next to each other, right? 1 and 2, and then you have 1 and 2, 1 and 2, basically almost always. They're going to be back to back together. So you cast 2 of these, you get 2 stacks of these, which means you have 100% chance of Essence Burst to proc. And then the 4-piece, consuming Essence Burst during your Inner Flame period of 10 seconds, will fire an Essence Bomb at your target, damaging nearby enemies or healing nearby allies. Now, this Essence Bomb in the notes was a 400% spell power. 400% spell power is good for an AoE spell. Consider that Verdant Embrace is 500% spell power on one target, and this bomb will be 400% spell power on 5+ targets is a good effect. So after you have done your double engulf, so after you have gone through these bursts of healing, you have 10 more seconds where you can extend this bursting to be a bit longer, because you can keep gaining essence bursts and keep consuming the essence bursts with your echoes, your free echoes, to keep spawning essence bombs for more healing in the raid. So for the raid, this effect of Flame Shaper Evoker is pretty good, this tier set. After them, we have Monk. So Monk is also doing the same thing of playing Master of Harmony in Mythic Plus and Conduit of the Celestials in the raid. So Conduit in the raid, Heart of the Jade Serpent additionally triggers for 8 seconds at full effectiveness after you cast Thunder Focus Tea. So this, by the way, is the faster CDR, is the 75% faster CDR to these abilities. 75% faster CDR for 8 seconds means you get 6 more seconds of cooldown reduction. So basically those abilities will get a 6 seconds shorter CDR. If this procs when one of these abilities had 14 seconds left on its cooldown, in 8 seconds those 14 seconds would go down to 0, because you would be gaining 6 more seconds of CDR. That's already decent. The much stronger part is the 4-piece. This effect will increase your haste by 15% while active and 4 seconds afterwards. The reason why this is very powerful is because as a Mysterious Monk in the raid, you are already playing with your Secret Infusion, and you're gonna be timing Secret Infusion before big damage events to do Thunder Focus Tea, Renewing Mist. So you get to gain 15% more haste for 10 seconds. So now with your Thunder Focus Tea, which triggers Heart of the Jade Serpent, which triggers 15% haste. So you're gonna be gaining 30% haste for 10 seconds at least with this 4-piece, which is very good for a Mysterious Monk, because your Thunder Focus Tea only has a 30-second cooldown, so you can get 10 seconds of 30% haste every 30 seconds. It's just a very powerful effect for your raiding power. Now, Master of Harmony is more Mythic Plus focused, of course. This is very smooth, but also very passive, very background focused. Gaining Vitality will increase the chance for your next Tiger Palm to unleash an harmonic charge, dealing nature damage split between your target and nearby enemies and healing up to 5 injured allies. Plus, casting Thunder Focus Tea guarantees that your next 2 casts of Tiger Palm will trigger this surge. It's very passive. It's very passive because you already want, of course, to Thunder Focus Tea during your damage events, because of course when you are playing in Mythic Plus, you are playing with your Jade Empowerment for your crackling Jade Lightning superpower. So in Mythic Plus, you already want to do Thunder Focus Tea into Jade Empowerment. So after you have done that, now you have 2 guaranteed empowered Tiger Palm for additional damage and additional healing. So it flows passively and very well in your rotation in Mythic Plus, on top of giving you even more damage as a Fist-Weaving Monk in Mythic Plus. So they're both very powerful tier sets, both for the raid and for Mythic Plus for Monk. After that we have Paladin. To be fair, we don't have much to say about Lightsmith, because Lightsmith has been completely abandoned by Holy Paladins ever since it was nerfed because of Protection Paladin. It's not that it's doing too well right now, so it's even hard to gauge this power level for Holy, since it's not even being played right now. It feels also doubly bad when you consider that this one has been nerfed like 6 times now. So reading a 2-piece set bonus, which is, oh, this is now 15% more powerful, when it was nerfed by like 40% since Season 1, it just feels off. It's more relevant to check the Herald of the Sun tier set for Holy, which is their currently played hero talent in both activities, Mythic Plus and the Raid. Dawnlight healing and damage is increased by 30%. This is a good start. As a Holy Paladin, your Dawnlight does decent healing already, and also it does it when you want it, in your burst windows, right? So it's good to have it 30% stronger. And you gain Solar Wrath after your wings are fading, to gain Sun's Avatar for 10 more seconds after wings is over. Sun's Avatar is, the effect that crashes your FPS because there are beams of light connecting like 7 different players across the raid, right? This is the effect of Sun's Avatar. This will last for 10 more seconds after your wings. On top of that, during this effect, you also have 15% stronger spenders and 2 more Dawnlights. What I have a bit of a problem with this is the fact that it's not empowering your powerful window, it's empowering your 10 seconds later. So it's not empowering this part, or this part, or this part. It's empowering this part, right? Your wings is over, all of the buffs you have through your talents within your wings are over, and then you have 10 more seconds of Sun's Avatar alone, without wings, just Sun's Avatar. So it does beg the question, how often will you need a healing window that is so long? Because wings already last for 20 seconds, and this will extend your power window by an additional 10, so it will be a 30-second long healing window. I feel like at this point most of the value of this tier set will have to go in your awakening. So the shorter proc of wings through your holy power spenders just to get the extra seconds of this Solar Wrath buff. But within the actual big wing cooldown, having this 10 seconds longer after your wings, making your power window last 30 seconds, feels like a bit too long and unnecessary, especially in a raid setting. After Holy Paladin, we have to move to the star of the season, obviously, Discipline Priest. So we start with a pathetic tier set, 2-piece, the first bolt of each penance cast damages or heals for 200% more. This is awful. It does like barely anything. Now, it's understandable that it is awful once you read the 4-piece of this tier set. Casting Piety or Solace grants you 2 stacks of Insight, and then consuming a stack of Insight increases your haste by 1% for 10 seconds. So this is absolutely garbage, terrible, like properly awful, just as bad as this one. The only thing that matters here is this. This is because as a Discipline Priest, obviously, you're going to be tying together in your ramp Insight and Piety together, or Clairvoyance, so all of them together. You can see it visualized in here. This is a reminiscent image of a Disc Priest healing. These are the Disc Priest healing casts of your Piety as well as your Clairvoyance. And then you look at the healing done. Piety is here, Clairvoyance is here, Piety is here, Clairvoyance is here. So what this means is that every single time you will have your big ramp, you will have 2 more stacks of Insight thanks to having cast one of these 2. This means, again, in short, that when you are doing your big combo and you are casting your Piety in this case, for example, you won't get 4 back-to-back-to-back casts of Penance. You will get 6 back-to-back-to-back-to-back-to-back casts of Penance. That is very, very powerful, of course, because that's where all of your power is as Discipline, right? Your power is here. And that's what this tier set does. It gives you 2 more Penance casts in this window, which is very, very good because Penance itself is a very, very good ability. The base healing of Penance is great, and as well as the base damage, of course, of Penance to get Atonement healing is very, very good. So this one right here, this is garbage. This is ultra garbage. This is better than all of them combined, even if you quadrupled this power and even if it gave you like 30% haste for 10 seconds, still terrible compared to this. This is very, very good for your ramp. Now, Void Weaver, despite being underplayed right now, as a complete opposite of this, as a massively powerful 2-piece. Void Blast and Penance do 40% more damage and the cast time is reduced by 20%. This is super good for Void Weaver. You know, Void Weaver has practically all of its power in its Void Blast spam. So buffing this by 40% and giving you 20% faster cast time on Void Blast is super good. On top of this, the 4-piece is also quite strong. Void Blast can now cause Entropic Rift to grow, as well as Collapsing Void, increasing the damage of the Rift by an additional 10%. This is very good because right now, the only way to grow Entropic Rift is by, very simply, having penances to be cast to increase the damage of your Entropic Rift by 10% per cast of Penance. Now, it's going to be increasing also by 10% per cast of Void Blast, which is of course very good because in a normal day-to-day run-of-the-mill run of Discipline in this window, the amount of casts of Void Blast in your burst window are quite a lot higher than the amount of casts of Penance. So now, with the new tier set, this was increasing your Entropic Rift by 10%, this was increasing your Entropic Rift by 10%. Now, this will also be increasing Entropic Rift value by 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60%, right? So it's a very, very good effect for Void Weaver. Again, a bit unlucky that they have to compete now with this ridiculous of a tier set, assuming this won't get nerfed, which is also unlikely. After them you have Holy Priest, a bit misleading. It seems like right now Holy Priest is leading the charts in healing in the raid. Not really. It's much more relevant the power they had at the release of the season when things actually mattered compared to now. Archon is the not played talent in the raid, it's played in Mythic Plus, which also doesn't matter because Holy Priest has no chance at being good in Mythic Plus right now. Halos reduce the cooldown of your Holy War, Serenity and Sanctify by 5 seconds. So of course playing Archon, you're gonna get three casts of Halos going on and off. So this is gonna be a 15-second CDR, while also increasing the healing by 5%, 4-piece. While Power Surge is active, which very simply means while your Halos going in and out are active, every 2 casts of Serenity and Sanctify will add another Halo effect, up to 2 more times. So you will get up to 5 Halos going in and out, which will also mean up to 25 seconds of CDR, of Serenity and Sanctify, as well as up to 2 more rounds of Surges of Light created by Manifest Power, as well as of course more value with all of these synergistic effects, like an extra 30% power of these two extra healers that you are spawning. So it's a very good effect for Archon, both in Mythic Plus as well as in the raid, which is still, you know, Archon in the raid is still a very good spec. It's just been overtaken for the moment by Oracle in the raid as well. Oracle, 2-piece, casting Prayer of Mending also heals your target. Now, as per the data mined effects, this is supposed to be a 1400% spell power heal. 1400% is very large. It's almost as large as a Serenity, which is 1600. So 1400% heal on Prayer of Mending cast is very, very powerful. 4-piece is the exact copy as the Discipline one. Obviously, it's not as powerful as the Discipline one because you don't have the ramp and the power of penance as a Holy Priest. Yes, you were still going to use this CDR of your Insight with Prayer of Mending before, and now that Prayer of Mending does this much more healing, you are also still going to use these effects of Insight with your Prayer of Mending, but it doesn't have nearly the same value as Disc. It is still decent, of course, because in the raid you're still playing with Apotheosis, with your answered prayers to get more Apotheosis procs because of the amount of Prayer of Mendings you are casting, so this effect will synergize with this, although not, as mentioned, nearly as powerful as its Disc version. Now the last of the healers, which is not like the others, doesn't have a split of hero talents, only plays Totemic right now. Farseer is the little one. Farseer is the one that isn't really being played by Shaman, regardless of the activity in both Mythic Plus and the raid. It's Totemic. Now, the numbers are not nearly as garbage as you see them here. They are actually slightly better. It's a 10% stronger Ancestor whenever you Ancestral Swiftness, and the buffs given by the Ancestral Swiftness to you for 8 seconds are 25% faster cast time, 25% discount in mana, and 50% faster recharge rate of Riptide and Lava Burst for your 4-piece set bonus, rather than these tiny numbers. It's still very hard to understand the value of this when nobody plays Farseer. We even had some delirious videos pre-season thinking about a possible, you know, no or not chain heal centric build to play around Farseer, and it hasn't really worked with this tier set. It's still possibly unlikely that this will work. The value itself seemed good with these adjusted numbers. It is pretty powerful to have this if you consider that Ancestral Swiftness has basically a 30-second cooldown. So having this buff for 8 seconds every 30 is pretty good, but you still have to contend with the current stronger hero talent for Shaman, which has been the strongest one basically since forever, which is Totemic. Totemic is what you care more about when you are playing Resto Shaman right now in both Mythic Plus and the raid. After you consume all of the Whirling Elements nodes, which is this, after you just cast like 2 spells and consume all of these buffs, you cast Damper at triple the power at your Surging Totem's location. And then after you cast Damper, your next chain heal, let's be honest, it's always going to be your next chain heal, is cast again for free at 150% effectiveness. This means both the Damper you are casting from the 2-piece, so both the Damper you are casting by consuming all of these, and your own Damper. Your own Damper you can cast once you activated Surging Totem, and Surging Totem becomes re-clickable to create a Damper. So you can practically put down Surging Totem, this becomes reactivable. After you put down Surging Totem, you cast a very sped up chain heal that will consume both the air and earth nodes, and then you cast 1 healing wave to consume the water nodes. Then your next chain heal will cast for free again, because you triggered the Damper of your tier set, and then you reactivate Surging Totem to recast Damper, which will also reactivate the 4-piece, casting another chain heal for free. It's a very good effect because it does save you mana, one of the bigger weaknesses of Resto Shaman. Yes, it doesn't actually read as anything having to do with mana, but casting things for free is how Resto Shaman gets to save mana. You get to cast Chain Heals for free from Lively Totems, you get to cast Chain Heals for free now with this new tier effect. That's the way you get to keep your mana as a Resto Shaman. So this one works very well, especially in the raid where these Chain Heal spams are very effective. So going through all of the tier sets, it's clear they are much better designed, or at the very least much more interesting than the tier sets we have seen in this current season. This, insurance proc experiment for all healers that does more or less the same thing, not really very exciting or imaginative. This is much better for many of the specs. They are more flavorful, of course, they have more synergy with many of your tools, so definite good effects. I am happy with the raid focus version of Resto Druid for Keeper of the Grove. Both Chrono Warden and Flame Shaper of Evoker are very good. Mistweaver also has both hero talent tier sets being quite good. Paladin is a bit meh on both of them, mostly because I'm not a fan of making your power window as a healer last 30 seconds. I think it's too long of a power window. Priest is good in both, with the question mark of perhaps this Coracle being a bit too strong, and Resto Shaman has a good totemic one with a kind of weak, still too weak version for Farseer. So this is what we have for hero talent tier set focus in season 3. We will see, of course, how far will the balance tuning go with these tier sets before the release of the season, but for today, on this Sunday, we are now done with the overview of the tier sets for healers so far. So for this out of the way, we're now starting our goodbyes by thanking everyone for having watched the video, together with, of course, everyone else who has been supporting Competitive for free by liking and commenting down below, as well as subscribing to the channel itself. Now, with these things out of the way, thank you again for watching. See you guys tomorrow, and in the meantime, yep, it's back. I talked for way too long, and now the nose itching has come back.